Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore. There is a complete A to Z list of monsters from the core monster manual on my channel, lots of character class and playable race videos and tons of info on the lore of D&D from 2nd edition right up to 5th edition. You may not use it all, but I think it's good to keep it alive so it can inspire everyone with new ideas and take the game in new directions. There is a saying, always walk into your future while keeping an eye on the past. Today I'll be talking about a rather spooky figure from the plane of Limbo, drawing on 2nd edition and an excellent article by Edward Bonney, illustrated by Terry Dykstra for Dragon Magazine issue 221, published in September 1995 in a segment called The Dragon's Bestiary. This video focuses on a viewer request for more information on the Slaadi god Ygorl, Lord of Entropy. Ygorl really captured my attention in 4th edition. He played a pivotal role in the Dawn War for that edition's creation lore, where, thanks to the particular qualities of his supernatural powers, the further back in time he went, the more powerful he became. So in the earliest era of the multiverse, few can contend with his awesome potency. But is Ygorl actually a god? Grab yourself a tasty beverage, my friends, and settle back. We're about to get deeply nerdy. I'll start by paraphrasing from the article from Dragon Magazine, as is my way. It conveys a lot of info, and the nature of the Slaadi mentality is in question. This is by no means verbatim, just riffing off what is contained in the article. The Slaadi don't really have gods. They are creatures of chaos who are native to the churning maelstrom of Limbo. The closest things they have to the gods are the self-styled Slaad lords. These lords are neither deity nor demigod, but are, however, powerful beings in their own right, much like the Abyssal Lords and the Lords of the Nine. You may refer to them as primordials or simply powers. They have started as something else and then recreated themselves as unique entities due to special circumstances or places or locations or experiences during their lifetimes. Wholly different from anything else. So such things are certainly not going to conform to the normal rules of divine beings. They essentially are defined by their nature of breaking the mold. They are essentially, in game terms, living artifacts. Primordial beings are not statistics, they are stories, legends, and when they show up in the campaign, the player characters are now part of that legend. At least that's what I try to convey, because I've had DMs who wove my characters into the legends and lore of their world setting, and it feels really good. Limbo is the mirror image to Mechanus. It is the plane of chaos that is not the broken and malignant chaos of Abyss. Limbo is supposed to exist. It may seem strange that such unrestrained anarchy is part of the natural functioning of the multiverse, but that randomness and freedom, unpredictability and fluidity is an essential part of reality. It is built into the prime material plane, and so, as a universal principle, it is expressed as the plane of existence in the conceptual realms beyond the astral dimension of thought and belief. This ties into the greater concept of the Song of Creation, but that's some heavy-duty nerdiness that I'll chat about to you in a later video this week. In the D&D multiverse, the plane of ultimate lore stands in direct opposition to Limbo, and so it was that Primus, the god of ultimate lore and the creator of the Modrons, imposed lore on that chaos by placing a divine creation within Limbo in an attempt to fix certain laws within a plane that, by all rights, should have totally crushed that sort of violation. But such is the power of Primus that the object now known as the Spawning Stone was created. The purpose of the stone is wide open to debate, but the effect it had on the natural native beings of Limbo, now known as the Slaadi, was pretty dramatic. Before the stone, they were beings of pure chaos, with no fixed form or purpose. Then there was this object that didn't belong in Limbo, and an entity that went near it was transformed into these alien fixed forms, which from the perspective of the Slaadi was and still is a kind of madness. We think the Slaadi seem crazy, but to them, creatures who try to understand reality and figure out its rules are totally deranged. As natives of Limbo, the Slaadi exemplify chaotic, neutral behavior in all its forms. Inherently free, Slaadi revel in unrestrained chaos. Real freedom does not exist, however, for the weaker red and blue Slaadi, because they are constantly bullied and dominated by the stronger Slaadi. True freedom exists solely for the ultimately powerful. This is more obvious with the mightier green, grey, and death Slaadi, who are better able to impose their will on the lesser Slaadi precisely because of their enhanced magical abilities. When any Slaad can more freely accomplish what it wishes and not what others wish of it, that Slaad defines itself as an individual to a greater degree. But no Slaad could hope to become a true individual if it is part of a rank. To escape this structure, which is a horrific state of existence to them, some Death Slaadi drive themselves to explore an aspect of chaos that they hope will grant them a unique entity and endow them with incredible abilities. During this time of investigation, a little understood and extremely perilous process, a Death Slaad may leave the ranks of Slaad entirely and return, much later, to a more natural state of non-conformity to become, possibly, a Slaad Lord, a unique being infused with power and chaotic purpose. To date, only 4 Death Slaadi have achieved this status, again, testament to the power of what Primus did and the difficulty they face in trying to return to the pure chaos they once roamed freely. By ascending to their new level, Slaadi Lords become the embodiment of their own particular brand of chaos, and no 2 Slaadi Lords share a similar expression of chaos, so they don't often get on very well. It is thought that the concept of success in this may be mistaken, and the Death Slaadi who do not return as Slaadi Lords are actually the ones who successfully dissolved back into their base essences to re-merge with the primal forces of the plane, which means that the 4 known Slaadi Lords are those who failed and now live in their own form of torment. Ygorl certainly confirms that in my mind. His transformation into a Lord along with the other 3 also granted him immortality, and with it, a drive to carry on living, which means that they will avoid fighting to the point of their personal destruction. But nobody actually knows if it is possible to destroy one of the Slaadi Lords, since to date none of them have been, and not for want of other powers seriously trying. Ygorl is considered the planar ruler of Limbo, though he is entirely reclusive for the majority of the time, since the other Slaad Lords have never challenged his authority, mainly because they're too chaotic to concern themselves with the very concept of ruling anything. And Ygorl is so disinterested in himself that he imposes very few demands on his infinite domain. Ygorl dwells in an ever-changing Citadel fortress that drifts randomly within Limbo's chaotic currents. Sometimes it's a marble palace, other times it's a series of interlinked spheres. It's random. While in the plane of Limbo, Ygorl takes the form of a huge, nearly completely skeletal winged Slaad with blackened and charred bones, although he can shapeshift at will into the form of a dark-skinned human male warrior who is clad in adamantine armor. Although he only seems to do this outside of Limbo in the prime material plane. He may take other forms in other planes of existence, but what those are have not been recorded, or perhaps none survived the encounter to tell of it. Ygorl's longtime companion and mount is a great worm, brass worm, called Shikiev, an ancient chaotic neutral brass dragon that is one of the most formidable examples of brass dragon breed ever to exist. However, unlike most brass dragons, Shikiev is coldly neutral and uncaring except in matters concerning Ygorl, to whom he is fanatically devoted. Despite the physical form he is in, Ygorl can be recognized by the infamous weapon he carries at all times, his adamantine scythe named Death, spelled out in glowing Slaadi runes along its length. We do have an official stat block for Ygorl for 5th edition. It can be found in Mordenkainen's Fiendish Folio Volume 1, page 20, and it's also listed on the D&D Beyond website. There is a pretty tame challenge rating 23 version of Ygorl listed, but some additional lore that is quite interesting in there. He is a large aberration, chaotic neutral, armor class 20, at least 325 hit points, speed 40 feet including climbing, swimming, which makes sense. I would say that given his chaotic natural environment, Ygorl should just ignore all difficult terrain entirely, although he can't fly without his mount. He is immune to necrotic damage, poison, and all non-magical physical attacks, plus can't be frightened. He takes half damage from acid, cold, fire, lightning, and thunder. Originally, he could also ignore any magic spell or effect below level 3, but that was old 2nd edition. Ygorl has a strength of 24, dexterity of 18, constitution 24, intelligence of 20, I would have thought it was a bit higher, wisdom of 16, and a charisma of 26, which is very much the intimidating, scary kind of charisma. Also, his saving throw bonuses are very high, plus 14 for strength and constitution, and plus 10 for wisdom. He has a passive perception of 13, speaks all languages, has 120-foot telepathy, No skill bonuses listed, so just add plus 15 to everything if it comes up. He is a legendary creature, obviously, so legendary saving throws 3 times per day. He can just choose to pass a saving throw. He has innate spellcasting based on his charisma, plus 15 to hit, and spell save DC is 23. Pretty good assortment of spells that are close enough to his older edition choices that I don't see any problem with it. At will, he can cast Blight, Blink, Chaos Bolt, Darkness, Detect Magic, Fly, and Shield. 3 times per day, he can cast Circle of Death, Innovation, Phantasmal Killer, and the Symbol of Discord. 2 times per day, he can cast Finger of Death, Harm, Mental Prison, and Power Word Pain. And once per day, he can cast Power Word Kill, Power Word Stun, and Symbol of Death, and Weird. Those spells which aren't in the Player's Handbook are found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. He has an entropic aura that is always active unless he wills it not to be, because he wears this belt in 5th edition. It's got these runes on these tablets, adamantine tablets, that are worn around his body, which emanate this entropic aura, which is a new addition to the lore, which I quite like. Each creature that is not a construct or undead that ends its turn within 15 feet of Ygorl takes 4d6 necrotic damage. He can teleport as an action, moving 120 feet to an unoccupied space he can see along with any non-living things he is carrying, and can summon Slaadi once per day. In older editions, this could be an assortment of Slaadi types. I don't see any reason why you can't vary it up. But in 5th edition, this is listed as 1d4 plus 1 Death Slaadi allies, who appear in an unoccupied space within 60 feet of Ygorl and remain for 1 minute or until dismissed or Ygorl is taken out of action. Don't forget that Ygorl has a massive ancient brass dragon ally that is a formidable enough opponent in its own combat encounter, but Ygorl is one of the most widely feared melee combatants in the multiverse due to his powers over entropy and death, not just the fact that he rides an ancient brass dragon. Ygorl may take 3 attack actions on his turn, 2 maybe with his scythe. It should also have a reach of 10 feet. Ignore the 5-foot range in the listing, that's just incorrect. It is plus 14 to hit one creature and does 2d10 plus 7 slashing damage, plus 3d12 necrotic damage, and any creature reduced to 0 hit points by the attack dies, with its body and everything it is wearing and carrying except magic items exploding into a cloud of ash. The creature can be restored to life only by means of a wish spell. Don't think about picking up that weapon and using it unless you are fine with your character turning into an unpleasant shriek in a cloud of ash drifting away in the breeze. Anyone who attempts to cast a ritual that identifies the true nature and history of this weapon is also in for one hell of a ride, but more on that in a moment. Ygorl's very touch is death. He is plus 14 to hit one target within 5 feet, inflicting 2d8 plus 7 necrotic damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 22 Constitution saving throw or gain 1 level of exhaustion. Remember, there are only 6 levels of exhaustion. The 6th level is called You Die. They have taken how deadly this is into consideration by giving Ygorl only a single touch attack each round, but that's not very realistic. He can make 2 scythe attacks and has legendary actions where he can take other actions during other creatures' turns during the round, including his dragon mount, including an extra scythe attack. But no, he can only reach out and make physical contact with someone once per round? Nah, that's just sloppy game mechanics. Never shoehorn common sense to prop up a bad mechanic. Make the exhaustion slightly different. Every round that the victim has not received another level of exhaustion, they get to make a DC 22 Constitution saving throw to recover one of those unnatural exhaustion levels. There, problem solved. Now the character is able to hit, fade, and recover. Combat just got more dynamic. Win-win. Also, make it so Ygorl can only inflict exhaustion on one target per round, or a target can only get 1 dose of it, no matter how many times they get touched by Ygorl in that round. Also, all of these are just simple tweaks that can adjust how deadly the encounter is, and believe me, successive layers of cumulative exhaustion is a deadly mechanic. Ygorl can also choose to teleport as a legendary action, or use all 3 of his legendary actions for the round to Call the Void, his most vicious area effect attack. Each creature that is not a construct or undead within 30 feet of Ygorl must make a DC 22 Constitution saving throw against the Lord of Entropy's attempt to unmake life, taking 12 d6 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one, so it's bad news for everyone. Ygorl then regains a number of hit points equal to half the total damage inflicted and taken by all creatures in the affected area. That can be quite a lot. This looks very impressive, and I like to portray it as a different sort of effect each time he uses it. The stats say the same, but the first time he becomes a pitch black outline, becoming a two-dimensional doorway into a dreadful void that seems to pull the soul out of living creatures that then vanish into what at first appear to be stars but are actually gigantic eyes floating in endless darkness. The next time Ygorl uses it, he opens his mouth and emits a sound so terrible every living thing nearby screams. Those who fail the save actually age visibly. It's always a good idea to include other living creatures in the encounter area. Don't just stack them up with constructs and undead to maximize how deadly he is. So you can convey those who suffer the full effects of this attack, and players get to witness the description of what it's like when an NPC critter dies from the massive dose of entropic damage. This adds to the tension as they realize that their characters are in mortal peril. Now, there are a number of conflicting legends surrounding Ygorl. On the one hand, he is said to be the second oldest Slaadi lord. Other accounts say that it was Ygorl and not Primus who created the spawning stone. Perhaps it was Ygorl who put a stop to Primus controlling Limbo and altered the stone in order to create the Slaadi, which on the surface makes no sense, right? I mean, how can a being who turned from a Slaad into a Slaadi lord create the thing that creates the Slaadi race? Well, there is a third legend, one backed up by this and other bits of lore. The plane below, Secrets of the Elemental Chaos, suggests that Ygorl actually sprang into being the moment of the multiverse finally dying, and he has perceived time backwards ever since, so that the past is the future to him, and his death will be sometime in the distant past, which also backs up the events of the Dawn War, where certain primordials and gods attempted to go back to the beginning of time and change the course of events in the multiverse. This has happened multiple times. But they found Ygorl there, and he was incredibly powerful near the end of his backwards existence. So one of the most potent entities at the start of the multiverse is Ygorl. To Ygorl, all Slaadi are living tools under his dominion, meant to bring chaos and entropy to a multiverse he's already seen die. He is thus patient in his attempts to spread entropy because he is the ultimate nihilist. Ygorl has no true followers, but most Slaadi would rather obey Ygorl's orders than be swallowed whole for ignoring them. He rules in this manner as best he can in a plane of absolute chaotic neutrality. Ages ago, when Ygorl became a Slaad lord in the far future, yep, that actually makes sense, he reasoned that even chaos needed a focus, a source from which to flow, and so he created and corrected the tool of Primus and created the spawning stone, derived from the purest lore and the essence of Limbo and given shape and stability with powerful enchantments. Ygorl redesigned the spawning stone to contain the essence of the Slaadi race, binding all Slaadi to it. The existence of the spawning stone has provided a point of convergence for the Slaadi, a gathering place for them to rally around and greatly increase their numbers. Ygorl drifted within his citadel in one of the most unusual structures in the bizarre landscape of Limbo. The building appearance changes constantly according to his whims. One moment it's a rough-hewn cavern, next it's a desecrated temple of broken marble. Ygorl's mental control over the fortress is absolute. Anything that goes in there is his creation. He can just reform it at will. So it's a very, very dangerous place to encounter him. The building literally shapes itself around him. Any person attempting to flee the fortress soon discovers that all corridors eventually lead wherever Ygorl wants them to lead. It's basically like you're inside his mind. As the Lord of Entropy, Ygorl directs the Death Slaadi to organise the mass spawnings of the Blues and Reds in Limbo, and then these hordes of Slaadi are then released onto the roving battlefields of the Blood Wars and the Prime Worlds to incubate the wounded with Slaadi egg pellets. Though this is a uniquely parasitic life cycle, Ygorl oversees the ever-growing Slaadi race and ensures the spread of chaos. Of all the Slaadi lords, the secret of Ygorl desires most to discourage the widely held notion that the lords are actually deities, because the very concept of that revolts them, particularly him. He detests the hopeful ignorance of material mortal creatures who would seek to actually plead with him for something. Even though he is not evil per se, he feels absolutely no remorse for causing countless deaths of mortal creatures who, from his perspective, were already dead anyway. Everything he looks at is already dead and decayed. So he's seen it dead before he's ever seen it alive. Besides, the ancient dragon called Shekiv Ygorl is allied with Sorrel, his lieutenant, who he is grooming to become the Lord of Anarchy, so I guess it's a sure thing. Skirnex is the voice of Ygorl, a misshapen void Slaad with a stunted third arm and an almost palpable aura of wrongness. Skirnex serves both as Ygorl's intermediary and something of a priest, so you could direct your complaints to him. Ygorl ignores his fellow Slaadi Lord Sestam and fears Renbu a little bit. He enjoys the company of Chorst, at least at times. If you like the lore in these videos, don't forget to check out videos by fellow Forgotten Realm lore masters. Check out my channels tab where I have a list of them for you to peruse. Please hit the like button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you like what I do. Resubscribe if you've been subscribed to me for a while and you've been failing to get any notifications of my videos, because that's something that YouTube does. Check out my Patreon for some exclusive content, all the full scripts for these videos. Buy some merchandise. Wear your geek with pride. And as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.